Kia ora, good evening. Southern mayors have signed a joint submission made in response to the Canterbury Earthquake Commission recommendations. The Commission wants earthquake proofing of structures be carried out uniformly throughout the country and to a set time frame. The submitters would like to see a targeted risk-based response from the Crown, possibly based on seismicity, occupancy and building utilisation. Invercargill City Council Chief Executive Richard King outlined the reasons for the United Southern submission.
And what we're saying, I think we welcome the government's decision to keep the standard for old buildings at a third of the current standard. But we don't believe, for example, we're not on a fault line, certainly not on a known fault line. You compare that to, say, Wellington, where you've got a fault line running through the middle of Wellington and the Hutt Valley. So we believe the risk there is greater than what we face here, even though we do get jolts from the Alpine fault.
There are a significant number of buildings, though, highlighted down here, aren't there? I think in total it could possibly be this is the figure from the submission, 152 million to rectify the situation in Invercargill.
Yes, that's extreme. That's of concern because a lot of building owners just can't afford that, and they're getting a certain rental now, and if they have to spend millions of dollars upgrading their building, they're not going to get the return in from lease rental.
Do you see possibly that we assess ourselves here, the time frame required and that sort of thing at a local level?
Well, I think we all want to be safe, and we welcome the third, to bring existing buildings up to a third of the code where that's economic to do. And perhaps when that happens, maybe the way forward is for each building owner then to, through a certificate from a qualified engineer, to have a certificate on the front of the building saying what the earthquake standard is, and then people, tenants, shoppers will make their own decision.
What is potentially the worst case scenario for building owners that don't feel that it is financially viable for them to actually rectify the situations in their building?
I suppose it won't be too dissimilar to a resident who abandons their property. For example, they don't pay their rates, they leave, move to Australia, that type of thing. And I think after about a 3-year period, the council then sells the property, applies to the High Court for a sale to recover the rates owed. The property then basically vests in the council. So if a building owner, say, had an old building, he's got a high mortgage, and he's required to spend millions to upgrade it, then it's quite conceivable that building owner will abandon the building and walk, and council takes steps to recover the rates owed on the property, and suddenly it's our problem.
This week is Privacy Awareness Week, and with identity theft and privacy breaches on the rise, there's evidence people need to do more to protect and respect personal information. Privacy breaches recently by government departments including ACC, EQC, Work and Income, IRD, MOE and Immigration New Zealand have highlighted the need for more robust systems. Other identity theft methods include rubbernecking at ATMs, theft of personal mail or bank or credit card details, wallet theft and prank calling. The government's still to respond to the Law Commission's recommendations from August 2011 that reporting of privacy breaches be made mandatory. The Privacy Information Bill was recently updated to improve public sector data sharing. Venture Southland has secured a sizable grant from the Lottery Grants Board towards refurbishing at least 10 war memorials around Southland. The grant for $85,000 has been welcomed by Venture Southland's Community Development Officer, Bobby Brown. She says that while many monuments have been well cared for, some require costly restoration and community groups have limited funding options. A heritage consultant will undertake restoration assessments on memorials in most need of attention. The 10 monuments requiring refurbishment will be identified once Southland's War Memorial inventory is developed in consultation with the Memorial Steering Group. This month may be New Zealand Music Month, but Radio Southland manager Darren Ludlow wants it to become eventually Southland Music Month.
This is a group called Cornerstone, and the song is Crazy on Flavour.
Mr Ludlow says Radio Southland plays as much locally produced music as possible, but he says there's always room for more, as is challenging local artists to submit their studio work for review and possible inclusion on the station's playlist.
Like the other 11 months of the year, we like to celebrate New Zealand music. When we have no programs scheduled to play, in other words, we don't have people coming and making radio for us, we play solely New Zealand music and have done for a number of years. And we're also parochial in that we like to start each local New Zealand music set with a local song or two local songs, and there's an invitation out there for local musicians that are producing stuff to send it into us, because commercial radio doesn't play a lot of local music. There aren't the same opportunities. There aren't many independent radio stations around, so we're here to try and encourage the local talent, because it's awesome. There's a lot of it out there, and there are people recording, but I'm not sure what they're doing with their work. We'd like them to bring it to us.
A takeover then, New Zealand Music Month becomes Southland Music Month.
That would be great. I'd actually like to get to a point where we play nothing but Southland music, and there's such a diverse range. I guess when we've started collecting it and people have been bringing it in over the last 18 months, we've managed to get back to the mid-90s, some early 90s stuff with Pretty Wicked Head. But there's a real diverse range. I mean, we've got some country music in there, but there's some pop, metal, reggae. I don't care about the flavour as long as it's produced locally, because we have the talent. And now with the internet, it's possible for us to showcase that on an international stage. We pick up international listeners, so it's a way of musicians getting their work out there.
Stay with us. Still to come, Venture Southland investigates the value of the humble rolled oat. Welcome back. Growing oats in the South is being researched by Venture Southland, and it's suggested the South should take advantage of the land's ability to grow some of the highest oat tonnages in the world. Health benefits of oats, including low lactose characteristics, are sought after by Scandinavian and Asian ethnicities. Stephen Canny of Venture Southland says combining the South's high yield capacity with the right approach to developing the industry could bring value to farmers.
Sheep and beef farm produces around about 350 kilograms of protein per hectare per annum. Dairy farm around 700 kilograms of protein per hectare per annum. And a grain farm produces around about 1,350 kilograms of protein per hectare per annum. And our focus has really been on how to turn that high value protein into a natural staple and products that people would want to buy and use.
So this arable land that's being used at the moment to grow crops, you're looking at trying to shift that into oat production?
Well, look, the reality was that Southland and Otago grew some of the largest oat crops in years gone by, and that's primarily to feed stock or farm animals, work animals. More recently, that's moved towards rolled oat production and now again back towards animal feed. So I guess we're looking at this as a whole crop for human consumption, and if the economics work out correctly, there's very clear that there are good people here able to grow crops very effectively and in a reliable system.
So the potential for the economic growth within this industry in Southland and employment?
Very much so. I guess the key area of focus in terms of employment would be back on the farm and service-related industries, transport, contracting, etc. But also with the potential development of a factory that would provide a whole lot of additional employment as well.
It's a naturally resilient plant that doesn't take a lot of upkeep by the sound of it, so potentially the organic side of it, which has had a huge growth in the market in New Zealand in the last 4 years, is that something that you would look at trying to encourage people to do organically?
Any process that we're looking at will at some point aim towards some form of organic or low intervention cropping system through the development of special cultivars and highly resistant, disease resistant cultivars. And it's quite an exciting opportunity, I think, for Southland. In fact, our growers down here are leading the way in this area of cultivar development.
Can you put a figure perhaps on what it potentially could be worth to the province?
Very difficult at this stage. We are evaluating that. We know that initial investments are in the order of maybe $30 to $40 million, which is quite a large figure. I guess from our point of view, we've looked at all of their growing systems, and our growers in Southland are leading the world in cultivar development. So we have the knowledge, we have the most suitable soils in the country, we have the highest tonnages in terms of production yield each year. So we're currently just evaluating the overall possible impacts of such an industry.
Environment Southland ecologists are conducting surveys of high-value areas on Southland rural properties. High-value areas include tussock and scrubland, remnants of forests, wetlands, alpine meadows and herb fields. ES Biosecurity Officer Derek Richards says people appreciate their remnants for different reasons, whether conservation, recreation or even for their water filtration properties. In 2011 there were 41 high-value areas surveys conducted, 40 in 2012, and ES is hoping to double that in 2013. Mr Richards says the surveys are free and is encouraging landowners to take advantage of the opportunity to learn more about those special high-value areas on their own properties. There's a resurgence of old school yard games in the south at Sports Southland's holiday program this week. Over 20 different sports are underway, with several new games and shorter 45-minute sessions introduced for 5 to 8-year-olds. Games include foursquare, jackpot, hopscotch, gutterboard and elastics. 9 to 12-year-olds are getting sports-specific coaching with full or half-day camps for cricket and netball, as well as kirahi. Up to 80 children are taking part each day, and Sports Southland sports advisor Brittany North says up to 70% are regulars at the program. And there's more sport up after the break, with swimming action from the 2013 Division 2 National Championships. From the news team, good night.